food. We got some chicken, pasta, some cabbage. Looking pretty good. Bro, I can't eat all of this. I'm playing leave, bro. I just gotta watch a video or some shit. W eats. Stop saying W eats. Bro, let me put on like a calm video or something. Oh, there's this one video that I seen. It was of like Rhino or something like that that I wanted to watch, but I haven't watched it yet.
In today's video, man, we got...
No, not that one. Oh, playlist.
In today...
I gotta figure out which one it was.
As
This
some of you might
one.
know, I absolutely hate astrology. I cannot open my phone. I can't go out in public without encountering people who believe in astrology.
No,
So,
Loveless
we went out
Serve.
on
I
the
mean, I
street, we
guess
got the sign
they're
that
all
says
the same
astrology
thing.
is bullshit, changed my mind, and we had some willing participants talk to me, and we had a very respectful discussion. No name.
I wanted to watch
everyone
this,
was
but I was
very
like, bro,
respectful, and it
hold on,
made
let me
for a
turn the
great
music
video. So
off.
make sure you guys leave a comment on this video. I want to know your guys' thoughts on astrology. Let me know what you think about the discussions and the points that people bring up. It was a fun video, and also let me know what topics we should do for the next Change My Mind segment. Appreciate it. Enjoy.
Oh God.
Oh, it's like change. Oh, okay, it's changed my mind. Okay.
Astrology is bullshit. Michelle, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Ryan.
Nice to meet you, Ryan.
I've seen that one other guy. He does the same thing, but I think it's more like political and stuff like that. But he does the same type of thing. The change my minds, but yeah.
So, you saw our sign.
Yes.
You disagree.
I do.
You saw the sign here.
I forgot his name. I think, hold on, let me look up on YouTube. I think if I just look up change my mind, he should pop up. Steven Crowder. No, Steven Crowder. He is, yeah, that's the one. I don't know if you know, yeah.
Here and
Yeah, like, I might know that. Let me see. Here, I got you. This guy right here. Yeah, this guy. I don't know if you've seen him or not, but yeah.
And what do you think about it?
I think astrology is 100% real, and people that claim that it's not real, they are delusional.
Strong claim. So my sign says astrology's bullshit. You disagree with that?
Completely.
Why?
I mean, do you have all day?
I'm an astrological girly, so
Period.
yes.
I agree with what you said. I agree with everything. I think that there are 4 fundamental forces in the universe: gravitational, electrostatics, weak and strong force. And the only one that really matters at this scale, when we're talking about things of astrology and things of planets, would be things like, well, probably gravitational force. And I see it as, the fact of the matter is that if you look at the formula of, which is G m1 m2 over r squared, it's more likely that the person who
He's a certified yapper. Holy
gave birth to you would have a bigger effect on your body when you were born regarding a gravitational concept than the star would, because it's so far away.
I looked it up, and the closest star to us, to Earth, is 4.24 light years away, and 1 light year is 5.88 trillion miles. Stars and constellations are sometimes thousands of light years apart,
Yeah.
which makes their connection to one another effectively arbitrary and doesn't really hold much meaning. Yet people claim, well, because of this Orion constellation, I'm a risk taker. Whereas I don't think that the stars that are trillions of miles away care whether or not you're a risk taker. So can you tell me why you disagree? Because I think it's complete bullshit and made up and fake. Why do you disagree with that?
Well, for that case, some people just have the character trait.
I see what he's saying though. He's like, bruh, everything's like 5 million light years, whatever, how many light years away it is. And it's like, it doesn't really affect us here on Earth. I feel that.
Of their birthday that just happens to fit into like whatever the zodiac sign is.
I think that a lot of the time when I see criticisms put against astrology, it is these kind of broad, like, I mean, they're almost doing exactly what they're accusing astrology of doing. They're kind of starting with a certain assumption. A lot of the time it's an assumption about how astrology works. Then they're kind of working backwards and saying, and I don't believe this. And it's a bit of a straw man. It's kind of begging the question. And first off, like, I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about other people. And a lot of the time I'm talking about other people with, like, a certain level of predictive, like, success, at least, you know, personal predictive success. It's not a study, it's not the same thing, and I, you know, wouldn't say it's the same thing. You know, it's not like I look to astrology like this is the guide, but there's certain traits where it's like, I've noticed this trait in so many people who are, you know, Gemini. We'll use that example. And then you meet someone and they exhibit that and you're like, this person's a Gemini, and then they are.
No, that is completely fake, because if you see, like, I'm a Cancer, so I'm stubborn, that's actually false, because that's actually only your sun sign. We have a moon sign, a moon sign, a Venus sign, Mars sign, a rising sign, Jupiter, Aquarius, and like Neptune and all that shit.
Okay.
That's so basically, whatever you are, you can probably put it under something. Is what she said. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm a Leo, right? Confidence, whatever, right? And it's like, oh, that's your moon or whatever. If you go over here, it shows this. If you go over here, you know what I'm saying? So,
And
you could probably get a lot of personality traits from these astrology things, depending how you're looking at it, whatever.
within all those different signs, our birth chart is based off of different houses, which is ruled by different signs, and we're born at like different degrees. So even though you think that you're a Cancer,
Yeah, basically, it's like you can have all these labels and everything, but if they're going to be able to apply to each person, it doesn't really matter.
Cancer, so you're automatically stubborn. If you're just basing that off your sun sign, that's completely false, because you have to look at your entire chart as a whole.
Why even group things into those 12 sections? If being a Cancer doesn't necessarily mean that you're stubborn, we're just using that example. If it doesn't necessarily mean that, why even put someone in the grouping of Cancer anyway? For example, Noah and I are both Geminis, so, but we're very different.
All of us have our own individual birth chart, so just because we are both Gemini suns, we could have different planets and different degrees that essentially influence the.
Bro, this chicken's spicy. Hold up. I need water. Hold up. Golly. Bro, this chicken crazy. What the? All right. All right, what you say? He said, I feel like somebody one day was like, I'm gonna connect these personality traits to these different signs, and like the average person who's sign is whatever. Just how happens connect to that. That's what I'm saying. It's never one to one. That's why they had to keep adding more layers, because it's never one to one.
The way we are, and in astrology, although you guys may be Geminis and you act differently, that may be because, like, based off the different influences in your chart, you may be like
Which I think it's special about like humans. It's like, bro, we're all different, and so you can't put everyone into the same box.
into one specific like characteristic of that sign.
First of all, the first time we spoke, did I ask you, by any chance, are you a Virgo?
You did ask that question.
And I didn't know that. So, I mean, there's just certain characteristics and things that are undeniable. And anytime I have someone tell me they don't believe it, and I start talking to them about it or explaining things, they're like, all right, like, I don't want to admit it, but like all the things you're saying are right. So.
Does that happen every time? Like every time you meet someone, you're able to immediately tell what they
No,
are?
not every time, but sometimes it's like glaringly obvious.
I would start believing you if you could pinpoint, oh, yep, you're this, you're this. Then I'd be like, oh,
Oh yeah,
there might be something to
I
it.
probably could.
What's Noah?
I don't know. I spent 5 minutes with him.
Well, if it was, surely you heard him speak a little bit. But I know you're not going to get it because I chalk it up to you had a lucky guess with me.
Out of 12 signs, I had a lucky guess.
Because I know you're not going to get his.
How do you know?
Because the luck, the chances of you getting both right, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
I might guess like the right element though, because he's like chill, so he's probably like an earth sign.
Okay, what are the earth signs? Which ones are those?
Taurus, maybe Capricorn. Virgo might be an earth sign. And Leo maybe? No. Is Leo fire? I don't know. Not an astrologer.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense anyway, but
In this case,
Yeah, exactly. Like you might have, I don't even know what these things are, bro. I really don't. You can have, say, a Cancer and whatever, and they're acting like a Leo. It's like, bro, it's crazy, right?
what
But then they're just gonna say, oh, that's just their sun sign. You gotta look at their moon sign, whatever, Venus. Like, bro.
your zodiac sign? When's your birthday?
the only thing I know about my sign is that I'm a Gemini.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I don't know if you're able to, what that means necessarily or what.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Let's assume that you had some sort of terminal illness, like something really bad that was really serious, maybe a cancer of some sort, tumor.
Right.
And the
That's what I'm saying. It should only just be like one, or just not at all. Like it just shouldn't just, you know what I'm
Doctor
saying?
said,
I don't even know, bro. Like it's
hey, we
crazy.
can give you this medicine, but every time we've used it on someone, it fails. It has never worked ever before in the history of us testing it. Is that the medicine that you would like to take to try to help your illness?
Well,
Honestly, I think,
Would you look for alternatives?
I mean, I feel like there's no right answer. Like, yes, I would probably take the medicine, but if it didn't work, I feel like it's just the universe's plan, and if I meant to go, then
Then it was your time.
I should just stop.
That's crazy, bro. You gonna take medicine that's known not to work? That's
fighting
crazy.
it.
Oh, facts. Would you take that, or would you look for a different alternative?
I would look for a different alternative, mainly just because if it's not working for other people, then why do you want it? You know?
Exactly. I think that's the right answer. And that is effectively what astrology is.
Right.
Astrology is a pseudoscience, as you know. Every time there's been astrologers that tried to guess people's signs and birth charts, whatever,
Yeah.
they fail every time, and they don't have more success than someone who doesn't believe in it. What's the astrology belief? Like, is it the stars and planets sort of affect someone's personality, or what is it? Can you
I
describe
guess it's like the time you were born at and like the stars that like connect to your like sign in a way.
Okay.
Because I guess other factors that play into it are like your like rising, your sun, your moon,
I mean,
all
this
of that.
chicken good.
Okay.
It's
Just connect to
spicy,
each other
bro.
depending on your time.
Let's say there's a baby in the womb.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have my hand represent like the mother's belly or the womb, whatever. And the baby's inside. You're saying that astrology works when it's the time you're born, correct? It's the time the baby's out.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending on like the stars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do the planets or stars know when the baby passes from inside the womb to outside? And also, I'll add to that, at what point, assuming it's like magical fairy dust that the planets have, when do they officially start acting on the baby? Because you see what I'm saying? What's the difference between a fully developed baby that's in the womb versus that's out? It's just one layer of flesh or skin.
Right.
So it's like, I make the argument that your DNA, your brain cells, your genetics, those are established long before you pass from one side of the womb to the other.
other.
Wouldn't the time you're conceived have more of an effect
Is
on,
he
let's say,
spitting?
your personality or your love life than
He's spitting, right?
the exact time you were born? Because to me, I feel like that's arbitrary.
Right.
I disagree based off like DNA and everything, because I actually have a twin sister, and we
Oh,
have,
great.
we have the same DNA, but we are completely different, and we have like different birth charts because we were born at different times. So because of that, I would say that DNA doesn't affect everything. It's basically like you have to look more on like the spiritual side of things. You're trying to like intellectualize and science it, I guess, but spiritually, like we become like different once we like leave.
Wait, you're twins. You act completely different, and you have different, whatever these birth charts are. But you guys are twins, and she say that we came out different. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you.
Like the
I
womb
couldn't
and
tell
stuff.
you.
So like,
If I have a twin, we're born at the same time. We should have the same birth charts for this astrology thing. So I don't know.
Okay.
yeah.
So you have a twin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what about people that are born at the exact same time? Whatever, it's Tuesday, whatever, the 24th, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Two people born at the exact same time, the sun's in the same spot.
Why do they not have the same personality or the same traits, character traits?
Well, just because somebody has the exact same birth chart as somebody else doesn't mean they're gonna act the exact same. Like,
But isn't that what the whole premise of astrology is? Is that
well, that is the exact point, but the point is we may take on certain characteristics of our birth chart more than others.
they might lean into the trait harder than the other person? That seems like one layer of skin and is a difference between being born and unborn.
That's crazy. So, yeah, that's crazy.
Well, that's not really.
Wait, what? So she was basically just saying like, you have this entire birth chart. You have your sun, moon, Venus, all that bull, and so basically everyone has all their traits written out, and it just depends which ones they lean more towards to. So everyone technically probably has the same traits. It's just that more are dominant than the other. All right, but like, if everyone has this, yeah, no, I couldn't tell you. I can't tell you.
Astrology is. It's not dictating anything, but it's the influence of it, you know? It's recognizing how things that are going on in a bigger picture, how that is affecting us, like, on Earth. And I think even if you aren't finding, like, the science that you're looking for behind it, it's something that's worth being studied, and it's something that definitely has substance behind it, you know?
Do you know when it starts working? Like when the magical things start working on the baby?
No, not necessarily. I don't know that part. But I feel like you're looking more in like the science, like
The science
yeah,
of it.
scientific.
That makes sense.
I guess, yeah, the other girl, I could definitely see that. I'm at the... Her, yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah.
For behind it, it's something that's worth being studied, and it's something that definitely has substance behind it, you know?
Do you know when it starts working? Like when the magical things start working on the baby?
No, not necessarily. I don't know that part. But I feel like you're looking more in like the
Because I guess it's not like a science. It's more like a, I guess, like spiritual type of thing, what astrology is. Because it has to do with the, I guess, like, I don't know. Not like the soul, but like I guess so, like the soul or the person of whoever it is or whatever.
the
So
science.
I guess
like-
it's less sciencey.
Yeah,
I
scientific.
definitely see
That
that.
makes sense. So you think it's more of like is it like a faith-based thing? Like you just have to believe it just cause?
Yeah, I mean, I believe it just because it's fun, not just because I'm like, oh my god, I'm sticking to that like belief. I just think it's fun, like seeing how like some people do fit into the characteristics of it. But I see what you mean, like, oh yeah, this person, like they might say something about this, but it's not, doesn't necessarily fit to that. I just think it's fun to just learn about.
Have you ever heard of the Barnum effect?
No.
I wanted to read some for you. It's like a quick one. It's one sentence.
Okay.
I want to see what your thoughts on it are.
Let's see what
I think I
this
screenshotted
effect
it.
is.
It says the Barnum effect, and I can let you look at it here. Is a cognitive bias that describes a tendency to accept personality descriptions as if they apply to us, even though they are vague.
Vague.
So I think what's happening in astrology is people see you're a hard worker or you're stubborn or whatever. And then people attribute that to, oh my God, I am stubborn. When in actuality, being stubborn is an extremely popular and vague trait that most people have.
Yeah.
You would agree with that?
Yeah.
Right?
I would agree.
So do you think?
See, that's what I was like thinking too, because it's like, okay, well, there's so many personality traits, and the way they're doing it, it's like it's kind of vague. So you have your different moments where you can be stubborn, you can be hardworking, you can be confident, you can be lazy, and stuff like that. So you have like your certain moments of when those happen. So if you're into astrology and you're reading it, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I was, stubborn in this situation, or oh, I was pretty confident here. Then I mean, to me, you could probably use that as like a boost almost, right? You're like, oh, I was confident in this situation, so if I can just keep replicating that, I'll get somewhere, right? So I guess it's just how you see it and how you deal with it. But yeah, that's all I was going to say about that.
That you're suffering from the Barnum effect, where you see it as a description of what your personality is, and then you simply take the parts that you like and apply it to yourself. Like, oh, that is me. I am caring. Aren't those just broad, sweeping generalizations that most people can relate to? And they just pick and choose the ones that they don't. Oh, my sign today says I'm going through something difficult, but with perseverance, I can.
Yeah, well, that's a generalization, but I'm saying if you actually sat down with an astrologer and they did your birth chart, like, or even the basics, like your sun sign, which is, we know, a Virgo, your moon and your rising, that tells you more specifically. And like, I've hardly ever sat down with someone and them not agreed with everything that it described about them, because some of it is like your sun sign is like how you are, how you appear to the world, and your rising sign is, I don't know, I might get them mixed up, but like your sun, moon, and rising all represent different things, like the face you portray to the world versus who you are, who you know yourself to be versus your personality traits.
Random interjection here. When she said that, you know when you're in the shower and it's like after an argument and you think of like a good comeback, after the fact, you're like, damn, if only I would have said that when I was there, I would have cooked. This is our first
Yeah, post edit is crazy.
Like this, so I wasn't 360% equipped for every single point, but I always hear that from people when it's like, oh no, your moon and your sun, it's how you're perceived and not how you actually are. But then I was like, doesn't every single person that's ever met you perceive you in a completely different way? Like to some people,
right,
I'm perceived as cool, funny, down to earth, chill, whatever, the best
okay,
guy ever.
Cooking.
And to other people, I'm a super villain who's narcissistic and evil and hates them. And you're telling me Saturn is able to care about how you come across? Does that make any sense to anybody? Humans are so complex. So to be able to pinpoint them as, oh, you're perceived in this way, you're perceived as loving, you're perceived as mean, you're perceived different to every single person, your mom, your dad, your brother, your best friend, a stranger on the...
I guess that's what I was going back. Okay, never thought. Yeah. I guess that's what I was going back to earlier. It's like, yo, humans are, unique individuals. So we're going to see the world differently, right? And you can't, and if she's saying it's how, you're perceived or how people perceive you versus how you actually act and stuff like that, then yeah, different people are going to perceive you differently. Like I could probably ask like my group of friends and say, oh, what do you think about me? And each of them might have a slightly different answer and things like that. So yeah, I guess he's right. Or like you go up to a complete stranger and do the same thing, right? So I guess it's just who you're talking to and how they think they know who you are and things like that. But yeah,
on the street, and you're telling me to constantly...
Yeah, I don't think it's because, some stars aligned. Certainly when you're born, that's how people start to perceive you because of that.
Relations know how you're perceived. Come on, bro. Does that make sense?
Exactly, bro. Like, bro.
You mentioned you had an astrologer.
Yeah, because not everyone's gonna like. That exactly. Not everyone's gonna like you.
There's someone that you speak to about.
So not everyone's gonna think, oh, all your good attributes. We were like, oh, he's this, he's that, whatever.
About those things.
I have an astrologer.
Holy shit. I think those people are con men. More specifically, con women, because it's mostly women that are.
There's both.
But it's mostly women.
More women, because I think women are just more open towards like woo-woo things. And
that's it, it's woo-woo.
that is how you would describe it. That doesn't discredit it.
Anything described as woo-woo, I don't think is very...
Okay, new age.
New age, okay.
Put it this way. She has told me specific dates. She's told me like what was happening in 2011. At this point in your life, like something really monumental with your family life or something. And I've looked back and it's been on the mark. She told me, in fact, this month, she was like, I want to talk to you at the end of May. Like, there's a lot of things that are going to be completely different in your life. And I was like, okay.
And this is one of them.
For sure.
And look, we actually had a girl who was a medium.
Yeah, that's completely different.
That we spoke to was saying some crazy shit that I was like, okay, I don't know how you know that information.
Psychic.
Yeah, psychic, whatever.
Yeah, and I also believe that there's people who have gifts.
That's a whole other conversation, which I actually am more open to because we actually have footage that we caught a voice on camera before that was like a disembodied voice. So that's why.
What? Wait, I have to go back and watch that. I actually have to go back and watch that thing because I don't remember seeing that. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that.
I believe more stuff like that, but the astrology thing,
But you know, it goes back to like ancient civilizations.
just because it's old doesn't mean that it's facts.
Correct.
Slavery is old.
Correct.
On everyone I've talked to.
Yo, bro, kind of ate. Bro, kind of ate. Yo.
They're playing a different game. Like, I don't think that they're really playing the science game. They're not really playing the empirical causality game. Yeah, we can agree on that. Sometimes it's frustrating. But I think the other thing is, my perspective, when I've adopted certain concepts from astrology and paid attention, just kind of like a light thing, you start to notice patterns. Like, I think when you approach it more affirmatively rather than with this sort of skepticism of like, I need to prove this wrong, either it's right or it's wrong, I think that you start to see, at the very least, there's a reason for it. And I think what I would argue, you know, astrology is very old, and I think that the fact that it creates those patterns points to some sort of underlying consistency. Now, whether that's the stars themselves, whatever it might be, there's all sorts of other potential explanations, but I think that's kind of what I would argue.
I feel like some people, like, they'll read, like, what their zodiac sign is, and they'll be like,
I kind of like his outlook on it. It's like he's looking into it to, I guess, learn more about people in general. Not so much as, you know, if it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But more of a kind of an open mind towards it and seeing what he can get out of it as well. I think that's a good mindset to have.
oh, I should be this. And now it just gets into your head, and you're kind of like, okay, now maybe I am this without realizing.
And then they start acting
Yeah, they
on
start
it.
acting like it, yeah.
Who do you think believes in astrology more often, men or women?
I feel like women. I feel like every single guy I've ever met and I've brought it up, they just get so scared. They're like, why are you talking about this?
And why do you think that is?
I don't know. I feel like it's just like a women culture, I guess, in a way.
Woman culture.
Because surely if it was real,
Yeah.
wouldn't there be a decent amount of men that believe in it? Who believes in astrology more often, men or women?
Women do, but I think that's because women are more connected with like our spiritual side, and we are more in tune with like our emotions compared to men.
What about the people who say that it's because women want to women use it a lot in relationships? Would you agree with that? That a girl might say, oh, we didn't work out because he's a Virgo and that's why it didn't work out. Have you heard things like that happen before?
Yeah, I have. I think it's just
That's
because
crazy.
like if somebody's like a Virgo and then another person's like an Aquarius, like they're not going to be compatible only because they take on certain traits of those signs that aren't like quote unquote like compatible with each other.
And if that was the case, wouldn't you see in divorce statistics or marriage statistics that the people that stay together longer are these compatible signs and the people that get divorced are the non-compatible signs? Surely you would see that pattern, right? If it was real, like compatibility based on signs.
You're just looking at sun signs. If you want to look at relationship compatibility, you have to look at the compatibility between the two people's moon signs and Venus signs, because the moon controls our emotions and Venus is the planet of love. So you have to look at the compatibility of those two planets and not just the sun sign, because if you're looking at just the sun sign,
Bro, there's too many. Yeah, there's too many. There's too many. There's too many. I'm cooked. I'm cooked. Chat, if you guys have a girl, and she's an astrology girl, you guys might be cooked. You guys might be cooked. I don't know.
that tells you nothing about how the person is actually on the inside.
I mean, I know a lot of guys that are into it as well. I think it's like becoming more of a popular thing now where people are embracing it more. I mean, again, I just think women are more open to those types of things. Like men like factual, like where's the evidence? How can you back it up?
Isn't that
And
probably
like,
a good way to think, though?
maybe, but like, what's wrong with like dreaming?
Ain't nothing wrong with dreaming. I'm a dreamer, but I think when there's as much evidence for astrology as there is for leprechauns, which is a fact.
No, I disagree.
What?
Have your chart done.
Who believes in astrology more, men or women,
I think that,
in your experience?
well, men are less open to the idea of astrology.
You're saying that men are less likely to believe in astrology,
I just think they're less open,
less open to it.
yeah, to the idea. And I also think an environment like
That's
this
crazy.
pushes them away from that fact. You know, I think astrology, topics like astrology, which obviously like a lot of people don't believe in, like you guys don't believe in, make people really ashamed. Like I'm interested in a lot of, like there's something called the Wiccan religion, and it's like witchcraft, and I'm not practicing witchcraft, but I think it's really interesting. But that's like something that I wouldn't
That's
go
crazy.
out and express to people because I feel like they're gonna put me down for it. And so I think it's not that women are just more interested in it. I just don't think men are really given the opportunity to be allowed to be.
And I'm fine with that. Don't. I am totally okay with that. I am totally okay
So
with
you
that.
agree that astrology is bullshit?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it's like mostly for people just to like have something to talk about at parties and stuff. I don't think there's like obviously like planetary energies or anything. I think my favorite observation about astrology is like I have a lot of like great friends who are very progressive people, very about the human individual. Race is bullshit, class is bullshit, gender is fake, which is all great. But then they'll turn around and say, oh, but like Scorpios are all the same. You know what I mean? So like,
That's crazy.
And they put people in a box like that.
it's just like, yeah, it's just like it's just how humans think, I think. So I just think it's all funny, basically.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of I get what you're saying, but astrology, I guess humans like to label things like a lot. That's why, bro, we have names for everything, my guy. You know what I'm saying? So to not, we like to like classify things. It makes things more simple. It's more, you know, when you see a pattern, like a square has what, 4 sides. You know, all the lengths are pretty much equal. So when you see that pattern, you're like, oh, that's a square, that's a square. You're seeing patterns. It's the same thing with astrology. It's like, okay, well, a Leo is this, this, and this. Oh, okay, I'm gonna start seeing patterns, you know, of doing that, and that's what you're gonna think. It's like, oh, if I see this pattern, it's this. If I see that pattern, you know what I'm saying? So I guess it's a pattern recognition type of thing, but you know,
Even the concept of like racism, which both of us are very against racism, and I would argue that most people don't like racism. However, the concept of astrology,
It's spacism.
you can call it space racism, you can call it whatever. It's the same concept of discriminating against someone simply because of something that they can't control of how they were born.
When it comes to your charts or whatever, do you ever relate it to your dating life? Do you ever think
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
well, he was a Gemini, so
Yeah.
okay, you do that. Your friend can attest to that.
Yeah, sometimes.
that's crazy.
Sometimes, yeah.
I think that certain people use astrology to justify their shitty behavior, their lack of morals, their bad decisions, and even their bad choice of partner. It's a lot easier to say, well, he didn't work out because he's a Virgo, as opposed to, I picked a guy that's an asshole that doesn't even like me that much, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's what people do, is they externalize the accountability.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to say, yeah, I messed up. I chose the wrong person.
Yeah, and I feel like that also happens, like, let's say, hypothetically, you date a Virgo, like how you mentioned.
Hypothetically.
Then you hate Virgos for the rest of your life, just because of that Virgo. Yeah, that happens, like, to people.
Do you base your life decisions off
No.
things like that? Why not,
You
though?
said what?
To people.
Do you base your life decisions off of
No.
things like that?
No.
Why not, though? If it's real, if it's truly real.
Because I believe I'm in charge of my own destiny, but I think you can use it as a tool.
Do you use it in your life at all?
Not really.
Okay.
Well, like one thing.
Dating, like, are you like, oh,
One thing that's really prominent, and I think is a good example, is like the moon. Like the way the moon has phases and how close it is to us at certain times, like definitely affects not only nature but people as well. Like one thing that I wouldn't say concretely believe in, I'm like, this is a fact, but something that I do think plays a role in my life is like the way that the moon affects the tide. I think it definitely, especially
Bro's
for
munching on
people
some
who
candy.
have like menstrual cycles, it's kind of like the same thing where it's gonna affect you during that time.
you've noticed that?
Yeah, and this is like a monthly thing. Well, obviously, like when you're on your menstrual cycle, you know, it brings a lot of emotions out of you. And in the same way that like the moon pulls the tide.
Are you willing?
Yo, what? All right, we're just gonna let that slide. We're
that
gonna let
what
that
you're
slide.
believing is just a lie, and it's just not true, and you're just doing it for fun?
I mean, if that was the truth, then yeah, I would accept it. But I just do it for fun, like how I mentioned earlier.
There's never a chance that you'll drop it and be like, you know what, this isn't good for me.
Once I have scientific evidence, maybe.
Even though there's no scientific evidence to prove it, you want to see scientific evidence that disproves it.
Yeah, to not believe in it.
Do you think there's a chance you could be wrong about it?
His it's hilarious, bro. This is hilarious, crazy. Hold up, there we go, bro. That is crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I love when he does that.
That the moon and stars have nothing to do with our personalities.
No, I wholeheartedly believe it. I mean, I believe there could be maybe a 1% chance, but like I believe it's real.
I'm not going to commit to astrology is real. It's real. It's literally all true. It is something I'm very interested in. I think that when you look at the history of astrology and you look at the history of the assumptions going into astrology, the ontological commitments, I'll just throw that word out, like the commitments to what constitutes reality and how reality functions are kind of different. And on one hand, you could say, well, they're wrong. We've, developed our science. We understand how the world works. But on the other hand, I think it's worth looking at, like, well, what were they assuming? And I think one of the things that they were assuming was that the events that happen kind of have an inbuilt, like, correspondence.
The scientific proof of that it's not real is there's a concept called precession.
Wait, what was bro yapping about? I'm so lost. Wait, I'm about to replay his stuff. Hold on. I am so lost. What was bro yapping about?
It's real. It's literally all true. It is something I'm very interested in. I think that
I'm trying to figure this out.
When you look at the history of astrology and you look at the history of the assumptions going into astrology, the ontological commitments, I'll just throw that word out, like the commitments to what constitutes reality and how reality functions are kind of different. And on one hand, you could say, well, they're wrong. We've, developed our science. We understand how the world works. But on the other hand, I think it's worth looking at, like, well, what were they assuming? And I think one of the things that they were assuming was that the events that happen kind of have an inbuilt, like, correspondence.
Ryan's face. Bro, he was like, bro, what is he talking about?
Proof of that it's not real is there's a concept called precession, which is basically the Earth, as you know, it's got like an axis and it's tilted slightly.
Yeah.
And this axis itself wobbles a little bit, which means the position that we see the stars at changes over hundreds of years, thousands of years. When astrology was established, some people say it's 2,000 years ago, some say it's, a little bit less, 1,000 or whatever. But let's use 2,000 years. At the time that the chart was established, that was 2,000 years ago. Since then, the Earth has moved on its axis because of precession, and now the stars aren't in the same place that they were initially, yet we still follow the same chart, which immediately debunks the whole thing. There's 12 of them, right? There's 12 signs?
Yes.
Can you explain to me this rising, like the rising moon thing? What is all that?
So your sun is what you're born with, or like depending on like, what time you were born at and so on. That's your rising. Your moon is what makes you like your emotions in a way, like more emotional factors, and then rising is what people perceive you as. If they don't know you, you're like, oh, you give me the vibe that you might be this, but I don't know you, so.
Okay. Wouldn't you argue that humans are complex and there's more than 12 types of people?
Yeah, I see that.
Do the astrological signs and stars and planets, do they affect animals? Do they affect the animals?
That's what I say. Like, there's more types of people. You feel me? You can't just put everyone into, like, even 12 is too little. There's way more character traits. There were more, like, traits that have, it could be like a different mix. Like, say you have some new Cancer and they have these certain traits, but they're also showing, traits from, I don't know, it's Taurus or something like that. You see all these traits. You're like, okay, well, either one of these two, well, why can't they be both? You feel me? Why can't they just have those traits? There's no reason to put them in a box.
Personality, or is it just humans, or can you tell me anything about that?
Well, honestly, they probably do, because us as humans, we're not just our physical bodies. We also have like a spiritual side of us, and like everything in the universe is energy. So like I think we are kind of interconnected with the universe, and in that sense, the stars and the way they align like would affect our personality. Even though it's 4.24 light years away, it still is able to travel that distance to affect us. Yeah, it doesn't matter, because the universe was started as one little big giant ball, and then it started expanding. So obviously everything is clearly like interconnected. So after our conversation, did I sway you at all, or are you still the exact same, you got the same perspective?
Well, I see your scientific points, but like I mentioned, I do see the more like scientific side, but I also have my little beliefs, because like I put it into what is it called? Perspective sometimes, but not like always. But it's just something that I like to do because it's for fun, like how we talked about.
Do you think it would be, I think this is called cognitive dissonance, when there's a belief that you hold near and dear to your head, and then there's an outside source or something happens where it's challenged, your belief gets challenged, and it basically challenges your entire worldview.
Yeah.
There we go.
So to give up the belief in astrology, you'd be giving up like your worldview, which is too mentally painful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it'd be easier just to simply say,
Yeah.
well,
No,
just
don't
keep
pull
believing
this
in it.
up.
Do you think that could be happening to you right now? Where
Yeah,
you're
probably.
like, I just refuse
See,
to
at
believe
least, at least she knows, bro. At least she knows, chat. You know, at least she knows. If you're aware, I guess that's all that matters, bro.
In my perspective, I think I don't want to like give it up just because I grew up with it. Like,
It's also a very good way to help people feel not as alone in their struggles, so I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing.
We can agree on that. I think it is an emotion-based thing where people are looking for comfort or they're
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
looking for
I definitely see that
reason
too.
to their life. However, I do think people do tend to abuse it. I'm a truth seeker. I don't
He said, that dude said to abuse it. He know he said something crazy. He know he said something crazy.
care about being right necessarily. I just want the truth.
No one's saying go live your life by this. Again, like you have free will.
So with that logic, why even care about it at all?
Because sometimes you're just like, I need a little guidance, or like, I'm impatient. Like,
These guys are funny. All right.
What was the sexiest?
All right. What the heck? My ex.